Okay, welcome back to programming for mobile app development, through mobile app development, whatever this course is called, ISC 250. And today we are going to do a demo of some CSS concepts, some basics and some weird stuff too, like to do. So let's see. First of all, I want to get us set up. I'm going to use a better text editor today called VS Code. Since Visual Studio Code. Here, I'll take you to the website real quick. Got to get a browser open anyway. VS Code. VS Code is the current best sort of cross-platform code editor for simple applications. It can be super feature rich if you want it to be, or it can just be a nice text editor with some built-in nice features. So you can download it from visualstudio.com, code.visualstudio.com. I won't go through that whole process, but it's good. It's genuinely good, and I'll show you in a moment. So let's open it. VS Code. Hello. I've got this nice sort of dark template. I hope that shows up well in the video. We'll see. And I'm going to close the Get Started screen. Okay, so the nice thing about VS Code is that you can, well, there's a ton of things, but one basic one is you can open an entire folder in this. So essentially those workspaces we've been building, we can just open them right here and have everything accessible. So let me go into our material here. So I'm going to open my demo workspace for demo 3. Give it a sec. Yes, I trust myself. I made this. All right, so again, get started. Get out of here. So this area over here is where the actual text editor stuff will happen. This over here, if you look here, this file is, I saved it. This is my notes for this demo, right? Things that we're planning to do. And I can just open that right in here. Ooh. And we can see all the things I'm planning to do today. So this is the file structure, and here's the code. A little bit better, right? Rather than having to have our text open in a separate thing and having the browser open and all that kind of stuff, we can do it all right here. So I'm going to close this, and then we'll just work from here. Okay, so to go over what the plan is, I want to show you just we're going to take that little bit homepage and revisit it. We're going to apply a couple of CSS files I've already made, and then we'll write one fresh with a bunch of basics going on so we can change things up, change colors, and all that kind of fun stuff. And then we'll get into some kind of advanced nonsensy stuff, kind of fun things and interesting things that hopefully can be easy enough to show here. So to get this, let's see. First, I guess I need the browser open. As always, we got to be able to show our web pages somewhere. Make it squished over a bit. And then this one, I'll squish a few things. Can make the browser a little smaller there. And make the whole window a little smaller. Something great over here is that if you have a long file, this thing has a preview of the code here. So, okay, let's first open a little bit.index. Now, open with, let's see, can I just do this automatically? I think not. I think reveal it in Finder is still what I'll have to do. You can do also reveal in file browser. Okay, so popping open a little bit .html. This is that page from before, right? Maybe slightly different. I've got a few versions of this running around, but same idea, right? This is my cat. I've got 3 pictures of her. In fact, let's look in here real quick. There's those 3 pictures. A little bit 1, 2, and 3. Cool. And this is the index file. So let's look at the index file. Oh, that's going to be tight. We'll just have to jump back and forth. So here it is. And here is what's written here, right? So it's a document, it's HTML, head, nothing in it right now. Body, okay, we've got header, it's got an ID. Okay, it's got an ID title. We've got the gallery here. It has an ID, gallery of images. So that's a div. That's its own little container with some images inside of it. Cool. We have our paragraph. We have our unordered list of facts. Those are all of the class fact. And then just for funsies, I made this this last paragraph, fact that I had no more cat facts, is also the class fact. When I have this down here? It looks like that was my notes from before. We can leave those. Those are in a comment, so those will not show up. Now, just an aside, isn't this kind of nice over here in VS Code Town? Everything is highlighted. The syntax highlighting is what that's called. It allows you to the browser kind of, or not the browser, the coding environment knows what language we're in right now. It knows that this is HTML, so it can do little things like make the attributes italicized and orange. Okay, great. Can put the values that we put into those as like strings in green. All the tags are bluish. We have lots of stuff going on. All the raw text is white. It's very communicative. It's really, I've emphasized the idea of really show your users the information that you have available to them. And this goes a step above that, right? It is showing us, the user, the programmer, I have extra information. I can help you. I can guide your vision with color and italics and stuff. And in a way, that's exactly what CSS is all about. So, with that said, let's see what we have here. We have two CSS files stuffed in this folder, right? So this folder is Lilbit, just a folder with one index in it, and then it has two CSS files in this CSS folder. We won't even look at them yet. Let's just apply them. So what are they called? How do we apply an external CSS to this? Hang on, let me get... Good. Okay, just want to have my demo notes here. Let's check things off as we go. Okay, so we've seen the home page. Let's pull in each of these external CSS. Now, if you recall, to summon external CSS, you do link, and then you have two things you have to set. Rel, so relevance it's a style sheet. And then href, so similar to links. Okay, where am I pulling this sheet from? It asks. So we are in the Lilbit folder with this index, right? And so we have to go to the CSS folder and then pick one. So let's do CSS / oh, and look at that. It knows. See, this is why VS Code is powerful. It's like, yeah. I know what your file system is, and you're trying to pull something out right now. Cool. So let's do worse.css. Okay. And now we close that. Oh, no. It does a little bit of auto-completion, which is nice, but can be taxing. Okay. So, this we've just changed. I've just applied the worse style sheet to it. Actually, you know what? Let's start with better. Okay. So, this is still the old page. I haven't reloaded it yet. Let's reload and see what's going on. Oh ho. Okay, it's a little bit different. It's got a bit more margins on the sides, kind of a slightly nicer reading experience. Let's make it a little wider. We've got pictures. Oh, there's hover activity. Ooh, interesting. So these elements kind of interact with you, and the pictures get larger. That's great. We see that these things all sort of play together now. And this is all just from CSS. This is the exact same file. Oops, scrolling too fast. Exact same file. We've just applied an external CSS sheet. So let's now, before we look at what's going on in the code of that CSS sheet, let's look at worse. Oh, man. Okay, so this is a not as good site experience. These images are way too large. They're dominating everything. The text is like super like scripty, hard to read. It's tilted for some reason. What else is going? Oh, this just like overlaps here with the image. That's good. This is the text overlapping with itself. The text is going off the side of the screen. We like can't retrieve it. So why am I showing you this? Well, I want you to know that CSS can be used for good and evil in this sense. There is a way to make things look unreadable just as much as there is a way to make things look readable. Okay, so I keep trying to go back, but no, this is the page because I changed the CSS sheet. Okay, so let's get out of this. Instead of these two, we're going to make our own. Real quick, we can take a look into each of these and see what they're doing. I guess you have to double click to make sure they stay open. Okay, so what's going on in better.css? Let's go back to that view. Better. Reload. Okay. So Better is doing a few things with the colors, right? And it's got given a little bit better margin. So margin left and margin right is centering things here. We've got lots more attention to color. We got new, we've actually defined a font family. Tons of little bits here. Funny. We won't need to. Let's keep moving. I don't want to spend all day on the pre-made ones. Now, over here in worse.css, we've got, first of all, everything was Comic Sans or marker felt or just a cursive. What can you do? It's got super sharp colors that are way too harsh on the eyes. It's using this transform property, which we haven't talked about yet, which we will. It's got a negative margin here. Every item on the page, this is the all selector, means every single element should have a margin of -2. Everything should interact and overlap and all that. So again, the point is just to point out that there are things in each of these that are kind of messy, kind of screwball. So let's get out of that. Let's get out of that headspace and let's make a new file right here in the CSS. We're going to call it new.css. Okay, a third CSS file with nothing in it. Let's go ahead and hook it up to the page. New.css. Okay, now let's reload the page. Okay, good. So notice it didn't blow up just because we loaded an empty CSS file. It doesn't care. It said, okay, I'll load that file. Oh, there's no styles. I won't apply them. Great. Now, let's get to doing some of the things that these other files have done in egregious ways. Let's do it a little more one step at a time. So we've looked at both of the external sheets. Now let's write a fresh CSS file with some things going on. Okay, what do we have available? We have header. We have one header. We have, I think, 2 or 3 paragraphs. So that's a P, that's a P, that's a P. So yeah, one paragraph named intro. Okay. We have the unordered list, so we could do things with UL and LI. We can do. There's a classed fact. Okay, great. We got some IDs. All right. Let's start with just the overall color of the document. Let's do a major change at the body level. So, wait, what did I change? Oh no, we're good. So in here, in our CSS, let's do a new declaration and just say, hey, body, for the whole document, I would like to, by default, set the background color to black and the color to white. Okay. Another nice thing about this type of editor, it shows you a preview of the color that you're interested in. It's very nice. It's very nice stuff. We can even do something more fancy. Instead of white, let's do my FFOOFF. Bright pink. Oh my gosh. Reload. Whoa. Look at that. We have just radically altered the color of the page just by doing this. Now, as mentioned in the lecture, this is now the default for all of the elements contained inside of the body, right? Because we haven't done anything else. We haven't done any more specifications for what these colors should be for other things, right? So instead of just leaving it this, it's a little bit sharp. This is the complaint I had about the previous one, right? So let's go back to just white, which in hexadecimal is FFFFFF. Okay, saving that, reloading. All right, a little less sharp. Now it's still very high contrast. Maybe we could stand to make a little bit lighter black, a dark gray perhaps. Now we could use, I think, dark. Oh, it has the whole list here. Dark gray. Let's see what that looks like. I'm gonna guess that's not gonna be enough contrast. Yeah, that's not ideal. Let's make our own. Let's roll our own gray. So remember, hexadecimal is 0 through F, and each one is a pair. So let's try 444444. Save that. Reload it. That's looking kind of nice. It's not as high contrast. It's not as like harsh on the eyes. The white is a little bit weird, but we can't spend all day on this. So let's pick something else to edit. Let's see here. We could make the title different, or we could do the. Let's make the intro paragraph. Let's target that real quick. I would like the intro paragraph to be in italics, and maybe a new font. So, intro, or no? How do I get that? That's the question. So I could say P for paragraph, but that would target all of the paragraphs. That would change all of the paragraph objects at once. I'm just trying to mess with the intro alone. So to do that, I would use the ID notation. So we can say for our selector here, ID is intro. Okay. So now if that's the ID, what are we trying to do? Well, font style italic. Let's see what that does for us. Look at that. Just a little bit of it changes the tone here, right? It makes it more like this is a description of the page. That's kind of cool. Let's also make font size maybe a little bit larger, maybe? Not sure what it starts at. So let's do 15 point and see how that looks. A little larger. Okay, great. Now, notice, again, this one paragraph has changed. The others have not. Let's do something that does all the paragraphs. So P, what do we want? What do we want changed for all of the paragraphs? Let's see. What's on our list of things that we should check out? We've done some colors. We haven't done much font. I won't check that off yet. We've done, well, not quite size. Let's do margins. Let's make it so that paragraphs have more vertical margin. So margin, you can do a lot of different ways to do this. So you could do margin alone allows you to specify both horizontal and vertical. So how about, I think it's vertical first. Yeah, margin, 10 more pixels. And then no pixels. Let's make sure that works. Yeah, okay. So we just made the margins. Oh, that actually might be less than the default because we saw the page shrink. What if we go to 50 pixels? What will that look like? Okay, so these paragraphs have huge margins. Let's pop open the inspector and have a peek. Yes, look at how large the orange part is. Those are the margins. Okay, and remember, you open the inspector. We might want to spend more time in elements than console. And then you can either select them here, or you can use this little friend, this little pointer friend, and hover over things naturally. Yeah, so we can see the margin is huge. Margin is 50 pixels by 0 pixels. What if we make that 20 pixels on the sides? What does that look like? Oh, a little bit of indentation. You can see hovering here that we've got P hashtag intro. So this is a paragraph with the ID intro. Its color is FFFF. The font is 20px times, and the margin is 50 pixels by 20 pixels. Interesting. So let's close the inspector real quick. That's not too bad. We've done a bit here. We've made the margins at least do something. Cool. Interesting. How about, what else do we have to do? What else do I want us to be able to do here? We've done something with margins. Ooh, you know what? Oops. Let's mess with the size of the images. Okay, so these images are still pretty big, but we want them to be big-ish to be able to, see what, it's a cat. Cat picture good. So let's make them a little larger. Let's make them try to go across the whole screen. How might we do that? Well, image is the target. Now I could, if these images had individual values or individual, like a class or something, I could target that. But we'll just go all images on the page for now, because these are the only images. Let's do width. Let's play around. Width, 500 pixels. What's that look like? Reload. Ooh, okay. Not bad. We're seeing that when they get too large, they sort of do a carriage return, just like text does, right? Let's go back down to something smaller, 200 pixels. Not bad. What if, though, instead we did a percentage? So how about 20% of the available space? What do we think is going to happen? They shrank, of course, but now if we resize, they grow. They are always set to 20% of the available space. So if that's the case, and we want them to go across the whole width, let's go for more like a 30. You leave some room for padding, but 30% plus 30% plus 30% is 90. Look at that. Interesting. Okay. How about this? What if we have 31% per, and we give them a little bit of margin? Margin is going to be, we got to get 9, well, not 9, 7%. Okay, we'll just go to 6. 2% each. 2% by 0 pixels. So, or wait, 2% would be vertical. So 0 pixels vertical, 2% horizontal. Ooh, a little too much. Oh, right, because margins are double. So make it 1% instead. Because a margin has to be on both the left side and the right side. So if we reload, still a little bit much. So let's reshrink this down. This is the tweaky part you can do. Oh, there we go. So it looks like we found some setting that mostly is happy. It's a little bit wonky, but that's the way this is sometimes. Great. So now we've got these images are roughly always taking up this certain amount of space. They do get pretty big sometimes. So something else that we can do is set a max height. And we can say the maximum height I want to let this get is 50% of the available height. Let's reload. Go bigger. Oh wait, it didn't quite function. Maybe that's not a good one. How about 200 pixels? Oh no. You know what? I may have misunderstood something about max height. This is the kind of stuff that happens a lot when you're not, I'm not a front-end web developer. I'm not doing this every day. Max height we'll leave on the table. I'll look into that later. So, okay, good. We've messed with the size a little bit. We've done some color, some font. Let's keep going with some more font stuff. We've done some addressing by IDs. We haven't really addressed classes yet. Let's do that. We've done some element stuff. We did a little bit of size. Let's do more font and more color. Let's make these facts look a little more interesting, huh? So we have a list of, these list items are all facts, and this paragraph is also a fact. So let's do some things that target facts. Let's say fact. Now remember, these are all defined. You can write whatever you want. You can call any number of things on your HTML page a particular class. This list item has the class fact. That's not something special that I set up beforehand. That's just a thing I wrote down on this page. So now CSS has access to that. So these facts, let's do something like background color is black. We'll just leave it, no custom color. And then what else can we do? Font family is, let's try some of the ones that's bringing up at random here. Courier new. And just see what it does. I forget what Courier even looks like. Reload. Oh, it's one of those monospace fonts. Okay. So check this out. We've now altered the fact sheet to have a different font and to have a different background color. It makes this link look a little bit dark, though, so maybe we should alter that a bit. Maybe we should make it so that, you know what? There is a way to make it, well, there's only one link on the page, but there's a way that you can, we'll just go with the basic one. Let's change that color. Let's make it my my old friend, the hot pink. So color is, oh, that's F. I need foof. Okay, wonderful. I guess I left a space inside the link. That's funny. All right. So we've now done that. Okay, one last bit. So we've altered the font. We've altered the background color. Let's get a hover going here. So let's make it so that if you hover over a fact, it inverts in color. So fact :hover. Now, this hover is a pseudo class we've discussed before. Pseudo classes are when the state of the thing in question changes in a particular way. These are what will trigger a shift to the new style. So the new style should be background color white and color black. Yeah? Sound good? Reload. Let's see. What does it look like? Pop. Look at that. It hot swaps. As you hover over them, they change. Wonderful. Yeah. What else can we do here? There is a fun thing that is useful. So transition is 1 second. Now, I just whipped that out of nowhere. I'm used to this one. It's a favorite of mine. So if I reload, when you define a transition in a style, that means if this style changes, then it will extend that change period over a certain amount of time. So if I now hover, it takes a second to complete. Aha. Now, that only happens when when the thing is first applied. So you'll notice it takes a moment to get there, but then as soon as I move off, it vanishes. That's because this transition is only being applied on the hover. We could make it so that these facts always have a transition style setting of 1 second, so that it should go back and forth. Let's try that. So now, again, all facts now have the state of I have a transition of 1 second. So if I hover over this, it should take a second. And then if I hover off of it, it should take a second. Aha. Let's make that 2 seconds. Very slow, very slow. Let's make it 0.2 seconds. Oh, almost imperceptible, but not bad. There are so many wild things you can do with transitions like this. You can get real messy real fast. Let's make it a long 10-second transition. Wow, it's not very practical, is it? There's way too long in the middle there where it's completely just washed out. It's cute, but it's not necessarily what you want. I was kind of digging 2 seconds. It's a little slow, but it's noticeable. Let's go for a compromise of 1.5 between the two. Okay, we could fiddle with this all day. And that's actually kind of what I want to encourage in you, is the idea that once you unlock one or two properties that you're like, whoa, that's wild, you can just tinker all day long. You can mess around, make things get exactly how you want them to get, that kind of stuff. It's great. One last thing I might do is apply a something I like to do is border radius. Border radius is how you give things the rounded edges that are so nice sometimes. So let's do 5 pixel border radius. Oh ho! These now all have a slight roundness to them. But now that I've done that, it's looking a little tight. So let's add a little bit of padding to make it so that the colorful area, the black background, has a little bit more space around it. So padding, remember, is the interior white space, whereas margins are the exterior white space. Let's do a little padding of, 3 pixels. A little bit more spacious in there. They're also perfectly abutting each other, so we could throw in a margin as well. Margin of 2 pixels. All these tiny changes. But it's doing things, So, that's our ridiculous little web page. It's different than when we set here, right? When we set out. Let's see. I think we've done plenty of the properties. We've done fonts. We've done some work with classes. We worked on a pseudo class. Kill those. Let's see, what else? We've only been working in an external sheet for now. We'll get into the inline and inner stuff in a moment. So I'll go ahead and X this, and we can move on to the next one in a moment. So, yeah, this is our new CSS file. We can swap it around with the old ones by changing where the link is pointing to in here. Let's go back to better.css. Similar vibes here. We see the hover now. Oh, we see the hover. We see some of those padding things going on. The border radiuses. Oh, you know what? Let's go back to new CSS. I'm just going to do this because the mood struck me. So border radius of the images. How about do that 20 pixels? Okay, let's reload new.css. Look at that. Little vignette things. Now they look like, somebody took them on an old roll of film or something. How nice. How nice. Okay. So, I think that means we're good on segment 2 here. We have now created a CSS document to style a simple web page. This, again, you could fall into this, and I love that about CSS. Get to tweaking, get to designing, and it's so interactive with you, because every time you change something, you see exactly how it changed, right? We saw when this got a little bit less crowded. We saw when we can now actually distinguish the borders between them. You see that stuff instantly. You save the thing, you reload the thing, it looks different. That's good stuff. That's fun stuff. Okay, so next little bit. No more little bit. We are moving to a different segment. Let's see. Get out of the little bit page. Here, I'll close this. We'll treat that as tertiary. Let's go and open cards. Cards.html. I'm going to open this. I'm going to reveal it in Finder, and then open it in the browser. Okay, that's my lips, by the way. I'm not popping a champagne bottle, just making goofball noises. All right, so this is a funnily named document. It's called cards.html, but it's just a bunch of lorem ipsum. If we haven't talked about lorem ipsum before, I think we might have, but I want to make sure it's clear. Lorem ipsum is just a generic, looks like text. It's gibberish, right? It's not. I think some of it is taken from an actual Latin text, and the rest of it is auto-generated nonsense. So let's get 5 paragraphs of lorem ipsum from this site. Okay, The point of lorem ipsum is to look like text when you're doing editing of just like front end stuff. And you're not actually adding content, you're just deciding how content looks, right? These are just paragraphs of lipsum, and there's nothing going on in them. There's no content here. It's just kind of gibberish Latin. So what you do from here is you can, instead of just having text that says like XXXXXX, that doesn't really read as text to the human eye. So this is just a big old bunch of it. Let's open it up. Okay, we have an empty style tag. Cool. And we have a bunch of paragraphs. Now, these paragraphs, something to note here, this looks like it's very short, but if you keep scrolling right, you see it's actually quite long. I typically, remember, white space doesn't matter. And in this scenario, this text doesn't really matter either, but normally the way I would organize something like this so that I am like clear on it is I would separate them by sentence. Oops. After each period. I'm going to do it once just so you can sort of get the idea. It's not quite like writing a paragraph. I mean, it is a paragraph, right? But I'm talking about when you're doing it in Word or something. Because again, the computer doesn't really care about those line breaks. It's not going to put line breaks into the text. It doesn't know that kind of thing. It doesn't care. So this is the same page. I just reloaded it. So now we can more easily read this stuff, but it's, it's just text. So yeah, you know what I'm going to put in here? A notes on lorem ipsum, and notes on carriage returns / new lines. That's the two ways that they're called in text editors. Code-based text editors. Okay. So, and we'll mark them both off. Ta-da. All right. What are we going to do here? Well, the goal of this one is just to be sort of a playground for us to do something vaguely interesting. And to do that, we're going to need to do a few things. So first, I want to show off the background image property. I have this nice image here. We'll close a little bit. Let's look at, here's brains.png. It's just a nice old image of an old-timey brain diagram. If you know me, you know that my jam is cognitive science, and so, of course, I have a bunch of pictures of brains around. Okay, so I want to get that in as the background. What? Not an image? Not an image element? I want it as a background? Yes, you are allowed to do that. So, what I'm going to do is, in the body, instead of just defining a background color, I'm going to define a background image. And I'm going to check my notes here. You also see that I have old .html in case I get confused. I've left a bunch of things in there that I've already done for this demo. So, but the trick is background-image, and then the property or the value is going to be a URL that we provide. So CSS is capable of evaluating URLs. Let's see that out. So background image is going to be the URL of that image. Where is that image stored relative to this file? It's in the same folder. So we're in cards.html. Brains.png is also in cards.html. So we'll pull it right in. Brains.png. All right. Let's reload that page. Hey. It's a little on the large side, and one can mess around and edit it, but it kind of serves well as a background in this state, right? It's not totally crowding the text out. It's not, it's doing some problems there. We'll fix that shortly. So that's the first thing. You can use an image as a background. Great. Now, you'll notice this is called cards.html. So I'm trying to make these paragraphs into something resembling cards of information, as opposed to a giant text scroll, right? So let's do that. I would like all of the paragraphs in this page to have a few different properties. One is I would like them to have a pre-described width. So how about width is, let's throw them on there at about 25% of the page. Let's see what happens if we do that. Oh ho, okay. That was quick. If we pop open, oh man, that made it quite small, but let's do the hovering here. Here's the paragraph. Now, we said your width is 25% of the page. It also has sort of an it auto does the margin all the way to the edge, which that's fine for now. Great. So this is, that's tight. Let's get it bigger. Okay, great. So we've picked this size. That's fine. Let's also, here, I'm going to close that. Great. Let's give it a few more things. Let's give it a background color of something neutral, similar to what we've got going on out here, right? Not quite the same as the peach back there, but let's see. Let's look into, actually, I'm going to sneak over and look over what I had before. Light gray is what I was using. Okay. Wait, was I? Did I look at the wrong thing? No, I looked at the right thing. Okay. We're going to use the default light gray. Oh, wait. Gray? There it is. Okay. Color. There we go. Let's look at that. Okay. Where now these cards, so to speak, are sort of protected from the background getting in the way of them. All right. So let's keep doing a bit of this. Let's give them a prescribed height. Now, I put the height above. That doesn't matter, right? None of these declarations, right, the property value pairs, they don't really interact with each other very much. So you can write them in whatever order you want. Height, let's make them 400 pixels tall. Okay, some of them are still overflowing themselves a bit. That's okay. We can talk about that in a minute. For now, that's looking kind of like a card almost, right? This is sort of it's an entity, right? It's not just a paragraph. It's sort of looking visually like distinct chunks of something. Let's give them a little bit more, let's call margin, let's see, the top, it's vertical first. So 0, and then let's make it like 10 pixels margin. Ooh, I didn't want 0. I wanted 10 pixels vertical as well, I think. There. Okay. Small things changing. All right. So now we define a space. Let's give them some padding as well, because it's quite tight. These all the text is at the edges, so let's add a little padding. You know what? Let me demonstrate another bit of this. Margin, these two are both very flexible. You can just say, oh, I want vertical padding and horizontal padding, just like margin. You can also do just one number, and it will apply it to both vertical and horizontal. So look, you see now we've got a little bit of internal padding, both vertically and horizontally, compared to what it was. Let's get rid of it and just show the delta. It's all very tight. Now we add some padding. Just 10 pixels overall, everywhere. Great. That's looking good. That's also looking nice. We've bought ourselves a little bit of room. Let's reward ourselves with a border radius of, let's make it the same, 10 pixels. Aha. Oh, nice. These are looking like cards, sort of, in a sense, in a very loose sense. Okay. So these paragraphs are starting to look like the goal of what we're trying to do here. Let's jump around a bit. So we did the images. We've made the paragraphs into cards. Now, this overflow property is a nice one to know about. As we said before, this is all just sort of random loose text, right? This is just auto-generated junk text, lorem ipsum. And so the problem is that some of it has overrun the space that we're trying to just fill with stuff to look at and not actually read as content. And I could go through and edit every last inch of that. I could fix it all, or I could invoke a very useful tool in the CSS library, and that is overflow. And we can give it the value hidden. What that means is that within this specific HTML element, if the content leaves the border of the object itself, it will not be displayed. So, overflow hidden. I haven't hit one yet. Aha! This one wasn't finished. In fact, you can see it still going as I highlight. But it's hidden. It's not rendered over anything else. It's tucked away. It's tucked into a safe spot. Great. All right, these are still pretty tall, but that's okay. Okay. Oh, that actually helps to demonstrate. So as they get squished and squished and squished, the things vanish. So we've cleaned them up too. So these are looking kind of like cards in a broad sense. That's not bad. That's pretty good. We've made them look like the content sequestering card containers that we would like them to look like. In the future, you might do this with divs instead of paragraphs, right? All the things we've done so far is, let me set up a space where I can do something else with HTML. And here we are. So, now let's talk. This is a more modern bit, and it may still be in flux, but the concept of how do I make this content sort of arrange itself nicely, as opposed to just one gigantic vertical scroll. To do that, we can give the container the property flex display. So let's go back to the body, and let's give it the display property value flex. Flex is new. Flex boxes are new. Flex box HTML or CSS. Let's do a quick. Well, we'll see how deep this article goes. I just wanted the quick visual of it. Flex boxes are useful because they make something a little bit simpler. No. How about? I feel like I used to have a quick reference on this. We'll do the demo here. The idea is that HTML and CSS and these languages together originally were never built to handle content that sort of rearranges itself on the fly. Yeah, so this is a container with flex no wrap. We can make it so that it has flex wrap. Oh ho. So now the content adjusts itself to the page size in a much cleaner way. You don't have to do as much fussing with this, and Flex has certain other properties that are nice, like you can make things arrange themselves neutrally. In fact, while we're here on the W3 Schools test bed, let's do justify content center. Let me run that. No. I hit S because I'm so used to hitting save. Run that. I did justify content. That would make it not work, of course. I hit save again. My goodness. Aha. So, again, something about this is that if you were going to do this individually with CSS, you would have to specify a whole bunch of different properties of how, what line, how far indented should this be. And the problem is then as soon as somebody resized the page, it wouldn't know what the heck to do with itself. In this case, we've said, hey, here's a rule. When you have empty space, fill it like this. So also align elements, center. Oh, I hit save again. Man, that's ingrained. It's not a bad thing to be ingrained, but align elements, center. I don't know if that's going to do much for us. Yeah, that's more of the vertical one. So this is just a nice, clean way of handling things like flow of informational content here. So we'll get out of here. What I want to do here is make the body have the display class of flex, this display category flex. And then real quick, flex wrap will be wrap. Okay, reload the page. Now look at this. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. In fact, with this capacity, let's get rid of this percentage-based one and give them a very specific width. What's a standard playing card size? Standard playing card size. 3.5 inches by 2.5 inches. Okay, That's a 3.5 to 2.5 ratio. Let's just do those in pixels. 350, so 250 pixels by 350 pixels. Okay, with flex enabled, they now rearrange themselves cleanly, nicely, easily. Ooh, let's make it look even nicer. Let's have the justify content. Center. Now when there's space, they will still jump out, but when there's not, they're centered. Very nice. Okay, we've got some space for some cards. Wonderful. Okay. What's next on our agenda? We've done a little bit of display wrapping type stuff. Very nice. Let's start messing with defining some categories. I guess one thing to do first. Let's do a little inline editing before we jump into the rest of that. So I would like some of these cards to have some different properties to them. Let's do some inline style editing. Style attribute equals, and then we'll do color is, I don't even know, how about a random set of numbers? That was too many. No, it wasn't. That was perfect. Okay, save that. Now the second card. So VS Code is helpful. It brings up a little picker. Wow, that is nice. Dang, that's nice. Okay, let's reload the page. Aha! Now the second card has different color. Let's make the third card have a different background. Style equals background. No, come on. Background color is FFFFF. Let's just start with that. But then I'm going to use the picker because it's a helpful friend. Let's make the background color something in this range. Oh, it didn't like that. What did I do wrong? Background color. Did I not save the file? That's possible. Yes, I didn't. I didn't save the file. Great. Okay. Cool. It's not whatever. It's not exciting, but it's new. It's fresh. It has changed under our tutelage. One specific piece of the page has been changed. So, let me do one thing real quick. Make it a little darker. And just to illustrate one of the features that is important to keep in mind is the contrast. At a certain point, it becomes too hard to read the text based on the colors you've chosen. So, in addition to that color change, let's add the color will now be white. Okay, nice. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, I like this. I like this color format here. Let's start doing the same thing, but in a class. So, I'm going to get rid of, you know what, I'll keep it. I'll keep it like this. Let's just steal from ourselves here, and we're going to make a new class called Dark Block. And it will have the same properties, and now we can give other cards the class, dang, is Dark Block. You know what? I'm going to go back on what I said. Let's get rid of this one and just make it into a class. I'm trying to figure out what. So see, again, VS Code is very helpful. It's maybe overhelping class equals. Okay, as soon as you hit equals, it gives you the quotes, which is nice, less effort. But okay, so 3 cards have now been given the class Dark Block. Let's do that. It's nice. It's looking good. Now, if let's say we've done this to so many now, and we decide, ooh, you know what, this color scheme is not actually perfect. Let me do something new to it. Let me do something like add opacity. That's one of the ones I wanted to talk about. Ooh. If we keep opacity at a value of 1, that means the cards are completely opaque as once they were. If we want the opacity to be something other than 1, between 0 and 1, let's say 0. What does the opacity of 0 mean? That means completely translucent, meaning completely transparent, meaning completely invisible. The cards are still there, but their opacity is set to 0. They are not visible. So normally you would want something in between. Let's do 0.5. 50% opacity. Okay. Interesting. Now we're seeing that these cards are interacting with the background a little bit. You can sort of see how they're a little bit dim. Maybe too dim. Well, that's fine. We can work with that. Let's leave them as they are, as this sort of dark block going on. And let's add some transitions, as we just did before. So let's say transition of 1 second. Old friend. Now, on its own, that does nothing, right? All we've told the dark block class to do is have a transition. It's not transitioning. There's nothing to transition to or from yet. But if we give it a hover pseudo class, now we can do something like change the opacity to 1.0, for example. Hover over. Ho ho! Ho ho! So now we're getting into the kinds of things modern websites do to sort of guide attention, right? They have things that are a little less dim until you're focused on them, and then they slide into focus. We can do other things here. We could like invert the color scheme. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. You get it. You get the concept. Hover, 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 hover. Great. Let's see. We've messed with opacity. Let's mess with transform. Oh, and we've already covered transitions pretty well. Let's talk transforms. Transforms are how we got weird slantiness over in the CSS of worse. These use a transform called SkewX, which means in fact, let's try it. Let's do a new block type, skewed, and it will have the transform property of SkewX 15 degrees. What do we think that looks like? Well, we haven't covered it, so let's just find out. Oh, okay, we defined the class. We didn't put it anywhere. Okay, so now let's make this one have the class skewed. Oh my god. Oh, gosh. Oh, man. That's something. So, 15 degrees is quite a bit. Let's make it maybe like 5 degrees. It'll still be quite noticeable, I'm sure. So what transform does is it applies a something more from the land of like game graphics or 3D model shaders and stuff. A transformation to the whole dang object, right? So if we pop open our Finder here, or our editor, you can see that the whole object, it didn't like change the boundaries on the bottom left and top right. It took the whole thing and slanted it. You can also do a rotation, for example. Let's go. God, 5 is still so much. Let's do a very slight skew. Wow, even 2 is a ton. Let's also do... Oh, wait. I'm not sure if I know what's going to happen if I do that. Maybe you have to do comma, both. So, rotate. Wait. Rotate. I'm going to check my old notes real quick. Rotate degrees. Okay. I guess you don't need an X or a Y. 20 degrees. And we'll get rid of that extra transform. See if that works. I think that should work. Nope. It blew up. It didn't read. It decided that line was not readable, so it's not going to do both. Maybe you just do a space. There we go. Okay. So this object, it's tough to tell. Let's make the skew a lot bigger for a moment. Oh man. Okay. So let's rotate negative 20 degrees. All right. Wow. That's a mess. That's not great. Here, we'll close the editor here. One of these cards is not like the others, which is fine. That's interesting, right? So, okay, This is a skewed card. Let's reduce the hugeness of this again a bit. Get it back to something that's sort of like 2 and 10. We'll leave it at 5 and 5. Okay, whatever. It doesn't quite overlap everything. Similar to how we messed with opacity on hover, we can mess with the rotation on hover. So if we have skewed hover, okay, well, we can have this thing spin. Let's give it a transition like we did before, just so we can see what's actually happening. Here, we'll do it with one first, so it's clear, and then without one, just to show what it looks like. We'll leave it at a second, and let's take the transform back to skew x of 0 degrees, so trying to get it back to normal, flush, and then a rotate of 0 degrees. So what we've done here is when we hover over the skewed class objects, they will now adopt a 0 degree skew and a 0 degree rotation, meaning none of the following, none of the above. So if I reload this, what happens? It moves back, and it takes a second. Now, without that, if it was a 0, which is the default, instantaneous. Pop, 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 pop. The transition is a little nicer. It comes into focus, in a sense, in a way. Now let's get kind of... Okay, let me combine ideas now. So we've done some messing around with transforms. Again, that transforms are like Pandora's box. You can go crazy with those things. It's great. Now let's do some combining of multiple classes. And this isn't going to be huge. It's just, the concept should come together now. So we have defined 2 classes up here. We have dark block and skewed. And we also gave each one of them some hover behavior, but that's good. I mean, these 2 sort of go together, and these 2 go together. So let's now make another one down here and give it multiple. Class equals dark block skewed. Now they both will both be applied, right? So it's going to get the background color, opacity of dark block, and it's going to get the transform of skewed. Let's show it. Save it, reload it. It has both properties. It's slightly not opaque. It moves when you hover. It does the things. Wonderful. You can combine classes like this all over the place. Anything that has some kind of style definition, you can employ it here by just, again, putting both of the class names in order. Now, order doesn't typically matter unless there's a conflict. In fact, we can explore that real quick. And I'll put that as an extra note here. Conflict resolutions. It would be nice if I could type, huh? Okay, so let's change the transition time on the dark block to 0. Just for illustration's sake. Instantaneous, right? Whereas these take a moment. So if I have... Because the transition is defined in 2 separate places, one of them is going to have to take precedent. So let's do dark block first. On this next one down here. Okay, cool. It still has the instantaneous one. Now let's apply skewed. Aha. That transition property was overwritten by the 1 second because skewed was applied last. Let's reverse that. If we have just skewed, it has the 1 second transition. It's nice. It does its thing. If we do skewed dark block, oh, interesting. Now I've disproven myself in something. Maybe I didn't have a perfect understanding myself. Maybe it's that it still applies them top to bottom from where it's written. So dark block is defined first, skewed gets applied second. I'll have to edit that part of the lecture. Let's just see. I'm going to reapply it in a new spot. Yeah. Okay. So it's really more of where in the text it's defined. In the actual style definitions, last one takes precedent. The list of classes doesn't apply as much. That does matter for something. I can't recall what it is right now. So let's just carry on. Skewed. And I'm going to go back to the notes. Conflict resolutions. Learned something. Top to bottom, or bottom most definition in the style rules is applied last, thus takes priority. We're getting really far away here, huh? I'll do some carriage returns. Make it easy to see. Okay. So not quite the same as what I said in the lecture for left to right, but that's a small point. You don't need to get too fussed about it. No, there will not be a test on that element. So cool. All right, we've done kind of everything I set out to, I think. One last thing I want to do, because I've always done this many times. It's very fun. You can make something. Let's call one spinner. And spinner is going to have, by default, a transform of 0, or of rotate 0 degrees, right? And it's going to have a transition period of, we'll leave it at a second, I guess. No, let's make it 2 seconds. When you hover over the one I'm about to define, you can go really far with transforms, and that's what I want to show off here. I want the rotation to be negative 780 degrees. So more than one flip. We don't even need to define the transition, and also this should be hovering. Okay, so spinners. Let's make this first one a spinner. Spinners will look normal by default. When you hover over them, though, oh, you're not working. Why aren't you working? Did I not save you? I feel like maybe I didn't save you, or I saved you in a broken way. Something's wrong here. It's unhappy. What are you unhappy about? I guess... Oh, because I called this style, I meant class. There we go. Wow, it really was that. Okay. Okay, all intents and purposes, this first one looks normal until you hover over it. Let's go bonkers. I mean, it can do kind of whatever. We can make it, give it a lot longer. You can make it go, way more. Oh my gosh. Look at it spin. Oh, and it goes back. It goes back to 0. Oh my gosh. So I just wanted to highlight really how crazy it can get. And, there is probably a way to use this kind of spinning concept in a way that's not utterly abhorrent. No one gains anything out of this, right? From spinning the cards on the screen, but it's kind of fun, right? And you can do all kinds of stuff with these X and Y properties and these transforms and stuff. Like it's great. So yeah, one last one we'll do. Class equals dark block spinner. Look at it go. Spinning around, glowing, doing a good job. Thank you, cards page. You're way different than when you started, aren't you? Okay, and let's clean up our workspace. So we don't need to look at the pages anymore. We've seen, we've applied some CSS to the little bit homepage. We've messed around doing a lot of stuff to these cards to make them, first of all, look like cards, and then have some strange and fun behaviors going on. We started with nothing in this style tag, and now we've got a bunch of things in the style tag showing off how these color definitions will change things. So, yeah, let's do a recap real quick. I guess we just sort of did. I recommend VS Code. You do not have to use it. If you're comfortable with your basic setup, that's totally fine. But I just wanted to show you a nicer version of text editing. We did some styling of pages with some prefabbed better and worse CSSs. We wrote our own, covered a lot of the basics. We definitely got inline going a little bit. We did some inner CSS in the second part, and then we did the externals here. And then took some notes on lorem ipsum, on character turns and new lines, and these kind of text editors. And yeah, a bunch of, pseudo-advanced concepts. I wouldn't call these crazy advanced, but they're sort of more interesting and more fun and more weird, and kind of give you a better taste of what all is possible and available in the space. And that's it. So yeah, look forward to the lab, and thanks for coming along.